It's an uncomfortable fact that the history of our world is all too often defined by conflict. Over the centuries, there have been many examples of invasions, conquests, and captivities. Perhaps nowhere has this been more apparent than here in northern Israel. In the 8th century BC, it was the setting for one of the largest forced deportations ever recorded in human history. Almost 800 years before the birth of Christ, Palestine, then known as Canaan, was invaded by the armies of the Assyrian Empire. This led to the subjugation and deportation of virtually the entire Israelite population into Assyria. What happened next is the subject of our story.
Following their deportation, this huge number of Israelites, taken captive by the Assyrians in the 8th century BC, became known to history as the lost tribes of Israel, not just because they lost their homeland, but also because they lost their Israelite identity. The subsequent decline of the Assyrian Empire enabled these lost tribes to begin their migrations, journeys that would take many of them out of Assyria westward into Asia Minor and Europe. Our story follows these displaced people, who in their migrations invaded both the Caucasus region between the Black and Caspian Seas and Asia Minor. Over time they became known by other tribal names, such as Cimmerian, Scythians or Scythian.
But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvellous light. Which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy.
Nowhere on its long journey to the Black Sea does the river Danube look more impressive than here at Budapest, the capital city of Hungary. The Danube is the second longest river in Europe, stretching from its estuary in the Black Sea to its source in Germany's Black Forest. Widely regarded as one of the most beautiful cities in Europe, Budapest can trace its roots back to prehistoric times. It's an intriguing thought, as some scholars have suggested, that the Israelite tribe of Dan incorporated their name into some of the geographical features they encountered on their travels. Starting with Tel Dan in Israel, and in the course of their migrations, the great rivers, the Dnieper, the Don, or even the Danube. Running through the heart of the continent, the Danube has provided a readily available route for armies and all manner of travelers over many centuries, including the lost tribes as they moved westward across the continent. Heroes Square bears testimony to Hungary's turbulent past, with the 7 mounted horsemen representing the chieftains of the Magyar tribes who founded the Hungarian people in the 9th century.
If it is the case that the lost tribes of our story are represented by the Scythians, their presence in the region of the Danube is recorded by an impressive collection of artifacts held here in the Hungarian National Museum.
The Scythians built enormous burial mounds above their princes' graves and buried their dead with exquisite golden objects. Their precious metalwork, was the zenith of nomadic art. This exhibition displays some of the most significant relics of Scythian art and culture, and tells us something of the daily life of these people. The Scythians were renowned not only for their military prowess, but for their advanced culture and craftsmanship skills. They also developed organized communities and a sophisticated network of trading relationships, particularly with the aspiring Greek city-states. The Danube was to provide the artery that would take the Scythian tribes into the heart of Europe.